Hey, what's up, VC? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel, and I'm back with another long overdue country and western or country music update. I've got a little stack here. I've been kind of slacking on showing this stuff, but it's time. So let's just kind of jump in. This first one was a cool find from about 2 weeks ago. I paid $4 for it. Pretty blown away when I saw it. This is Buck Owens and the Buckaroos. Your Tender Love and Care. The record's not in here, so it's it's got the really flimsy UK jacket on it. But Only You Can Break My Heart, the biggest hit off of this album, one of the biggest country hits of all time. But this thing is full of hits. Your Tender Love and Care is another one. Song and Dance. All three of those were huge songs. And this is just a great album. This is an original 67 pressing. 67? Yeah, an original 67 pressing. So again, to find this for $4 was really cool. Where do I stick that one? Next up, this was a thrift store find maybe 6 or 7 months ago. And I was going to pass on it, but the vinyl was in really nice condition, so I went ahead and grabbed it. And I'm glad I did. This is called The Sessions, and it's recorded in London. And this is Jerry Lee Lewis. It's a double album set. It's got this cool diamond cut, and you got the records in there. But it's Jerry Lee Lewis playing all of his hits, and then he's got a number of people in here with him. Let's see any of the bigger names. B.J. Cole, Peter Frampton, Rory Gallagher, Mick Jones. So I mean, there's all kind of guests on this set, but it's recorded live. And it's just Jerry Lee Lewis at his best, and like I said, all of his hits are on here. So that was a pretty cool comp to pick up for 75 cents or 80 cents, whatever it is, at Goodwill. Next up, just working on filling out the Waylon collection. This is Will the Wolf Survive? And this is later in his career. This one was 86. So actually we're getting towards the end of his career there. Still some great songs though. Waylon just never lost it. This one, there's only 1 or 2 songs on this I like, but I couldn't pass up the price. It's a MoFi pressing. It was $5, so I grabbed it. It's We Must Believe in Magic, Crystal Gale on MoFi. Where the sidewalk ends and the road begins. So we're listening in the background, if you're not familiar, pure country. This is one of my all-time favorite soundtracks. It's all George Strait, beginning to end. It's just an amazing album. It's actually probably my favorite George Strait album. Every song on here is just an amazing song. I really wish this would be released. That somebody would release that on vinyl. Next up, one of the all-time great country albums. With 4 of the all-time greats. You got Waylon, Willie, Johnny Cash, and Chris Christopherson, and this is the first Highwayman album. Absolute classic. The song Highwayman is one of the all-time, one of my all-time favorite songs, period, but it's one of the all-time great country songs. I know I've said that twice now, but both of these songs are just absolute classics. I was really stoked. I've been looking for this on vinyl in good condition for a long time. So when I found this 3 or 4 months ago, I couldn't pick it up fast enough, and it's been spun probably 15 times since I grabbed it. I love that album. Another one from the Carter family. This one's another comp of their early recordings. These are 1927 and 1943, so a pretty good mix of Depression-era Carter family. And again, I like the early Carter family featuring AP. Later on it was all females, and it just wasn't to my liking as much as the early stuff. It says $10.99 on there. That's not what I paid. I think I paid like $3 or $4 for it. These were a couple of upgrades I think I bought these as part of I think I bought a lot online of like 8 or 10 Hank Williams Jr. albums. And these are the last 3 that I hadn't listened to yet. And all 3 of these are actually upgrades. But this is the New South, Hank Live, and then Strong Stuff. Next up, just another classic musician. I love this album. Back to the Bar Rooms from Merle Haggard. And this is late 70s, I believe. No, 1980s. So, next up, another upgrade. Actually, let me show this one. What Goes Around Comes Around. Waylon Jennings. This one's actually a white label promo. Should have showed that with the other Waylon. But in my opinion, you can't go wrong with Waylon. I haven't heard one album of his that I haven't liked, which I can't say about many artists. Even Johnny Cash, who's my all-time favorite country music singer, he's got a couple of albums that were kind of iffy there. George Strait's another guy. Amazing. I love all of his stuff. Next up, David Allan Coe, Family Album. I showed this one about a year and a half ago. The copy I had when I got to side 2, it looked super clean, but there were 2 skips on it, and so I ended up finding this copy in much better condition. The Heart. This was a cool find. I had never seen this before. It's a really good show. This is Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Carl Perkins live in Stuttgart in Germany in I know it says it on here somewhere. April 23rd, 1981. Stuttgart, West Germany. Really killer show, though. It's called The Survivors. Next up, the new one from Jason Isbell. Something More Than Free. As much as I've always liked Jason Isbell, I'm kind of disappointed by this album. The songs are good. The music is good. He changed his voice in this album. He's always had this kind of whiny voice that really made him distinct from anybody else. And I've always loved his voice. And I don't know if it's all the recognition he got in mainstream country music from his last album and the awards he got, but he changed his voice. He went to a more straight-up singing voice, a cleaner voice, and it's just not him. And it's the first album I've heard from Jason Isbell, including his Drive-By Trucker stuff, that's kind of disappointed me. I've given it a couple listens. It's still a good album. Don't take it the wrong way. I still like the songs. It's just, it's somebody that I feel, he's always been kind of on the outskirts of country, and he's always taken pride in that. And now that he's getting some notoriety, I think you kind of you're seeing what happens here when people wave the money in front of your face. Sadly, but that's his new one. Next up, I just picked this up a couple days ago. This was a record store release from last year. Hang on a second. Let me. Sorry about that. The music came to an end and it was about to switch to a metal CD, so I went ahead and threw on Your Tender Love and Care from Buck Owens. So next up, this was one that I picked up the Sunday after Record Store Day. This is a record store release from earlier this year, and I passed on it because it was way overpriced. I ended up picking it up for $6. So this is Trouble in Mind from Leanne Womack. That's a cool little EP. 3 great songs on here. Oh, let's see. Trouble in Mind, Where Have All the Average People Gone? And I've just seen The Rock of Ages. So next up, this one. I bought this based on a couple of songs that I heard that I dug, and they were off the band's newer album. So I took a chance on this one. And unfortunately, it didn't pay off. I didn't end up liking much of anything from this album. It's not a bad album. It's just not in my wheelhouse. But this is Old Crow Medicine Show. Again, not a bad album. Just not my thing. Next up, this is just one I couldn't pass up on. This is another thrift store pickup, Goodwill. So I paid like 75 cents for it. Album's in mint condition, and there are a couple songs on here that I dig. This is What Am I Gonna Do About You from Reba McEntire from '86. Next up, this is just an absolute classic album in country music. I'm not a fan of this artist in the once she gets into the late 70s and on into the 80s, but her early 70s stuff is really where it's at. And this is Tanya Tucker, and this is Delta Dawn. It's funny when you look at these pictures from her early albums, how she dressed compared to the late 70s and early 80s, where she's wearing skin-tight leather pants or you know, what is it, like in the 80s, the Lycra workout pants and stuff like that. It just shows kind of the shift in country music and the country as a whole, I guess. But just a great album from Tanya. We'll save those for last. Next up, I actually found these a couple of years ago, and as I was going through my 45s, did I pull them out. But this first one, and these are both from the 60s. I want to say one is 65 and one is 67. But the first one is a 45, Patsy Cline. And this is You're Cheating Hard on the A side, and then Anytime on the B side. And this particular album was part of a 7-inch jukebox pack. You would buy the pack of 5 albums, and this is one of them that was in there for Patsy Cline. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And it was really hard to find information on this because most of the information out there is under the 5 album package as opposed to the single 45. This next one was also very cool. This is actually a 33 1/3 album, but it is a 7-inch, and this is a 7-inch greatest hits of Patsy Cline. There's 6 songs on here. You've got Back in Baby's Arms, huge hit. She's Got You, Leaving on Your Mind, and then that was the B-side, sorry. And the A-side is Walking After Midnight, huge hit. Crazy, monster hit. And then I Fall to Pieces, which was another huge song for her. And those are both on Decca. This one I think was 65, and I believe that one was 67. But cool finds. I think I paid $2 a piece for them, and they both sound great. And then the greatest hits, there was actually 2 versions of this. There was this black Decca label, and then there was another one that came on the regular Decca label, the colored Decca label, and that one actually came in a picture sleeve. So down to the last couple. This next one is Johnny Cash and the Tennessee 2. This is Get Rhythm. And this one's a repress from the 70s, if I remember correctly. But this is on Sun. And there's that Sun label. Yeah, it doesn't say when this one was, but I want to say when I looked it up, it was a 70s repress of the album, but still, just a classic Johnny Cash album. And then last but definitely not least, Man in Black, Johnny Cash live in Denmark. This is from the most recent Record Store Day. This was one of the main things that I was looking for when I went out. When I went out digging a couple days later. This drives me crazy, and I know people have talked about this. All of these Record Store Day albums have this warning on the back of the vinyl that just disgusts me. They charge all this money and it says, specialty vinyl has nuances in the material used that may affect playability and sound. You may experience some noises and skips while playing. Adjusting the stylus weight, anti-skid, and cartridge alignment may improve performance. So they're telling you, hey, you're paying $30-something for this album, but hey, it might skip. Sorry. Just drives me crazy. And it gets back to the pressing quality. I haven't listened to this yet, so I can't tell you. I will say that all of the Johnny Cash albums that I've picked up, I think this is the 3rd or 4th record store day in a row where they've had a Johnny Cash special release, and they've all sounded beautiful. So hopefully this follows that trend. But you've got the first album on red vinyl and album 2 on white vinyl. So we'll see. I've heard good things from people that have picked it up. Everybody said it's a really good performance. And I haven't heard anybody complain about the quality of it, of the pressing. So we'll see. If it's not great quality, I'll mention it in one of the later videos that I do. But that's pretty much it, VC. Tell me what you think. Give me recommendations. Leave your comments. Take care, VC.